Hey, it's regular guy here. This is underneath my upstairs bathroom vanity, and I just wanted to show y'all. If you have a home in the 2000s, built in the 2000s, you may have these style of push-pull valves. They're commonly called Accor brand of valves. But as you can see, one of them is leaking. And I've had these go in multiple bathrooms in our home. I'd say probably after the 10-year mark. Sometimes they leak around the crimp, but this one is leaking back here behind the valve, probably from the O-ring seal. So we're gonna just pull that off and replace it with some new valves, and we'll take you through that. So real quick, I wanted to give you guys an overview of what we'll be doing. We'll be replacing that valve with the crimp hose, with a braided hose that needs a separate valve piece connected. If I had my pick of what I would do, I would use something like this. This is a push to connect type of fitting. It's not shark bite, I don't think they can call it that, but it's similar, where there's those teeth in there that'll catch onto the pipe, and then there's an O-ring that seals around the pipe. So that's quick and easy to do. Unfortunately, I don't think I have enough pipe left after I remove the old valve for this to grab onto. This needs a really clean, really smooth pipe, and when I pull off that old Accor valve, I think the pipe will be kind of scarred, so I'll have to cut off the damaged piece, and I think that would put me somewhere past the cabinet into the wall. So without creating an extension, I don't think I can use this. But what I really like about these valves is that the quarter turn on off, and that really helps to just I don't know, minimize the chance that you're going to get any sort of buildup in there, and buildup that'll leak with time when you try and shut it off. So this other kind of valve, this is a multi-turn, so they're kind of notorious for leaking around here over time, but my local store only had this kind with a solvent weld. Solvent weld just means it's glue, but it is glue that chemically bonds between this new valve and the pipe. So with glue stuff, scarring, any roughness in the pipe is actually beneficial. It increases the surface area of the glue that the glue has to bind, so that actually works in our favor. So I don't have to worry about cutting off any of the old pipe and not having enough to put the new valve on. So we'll go from this valve to a braided hose. I think this is 3/8 inch. The pipe coming out of the wall will be 1/2 inch. And then it's just going to a 1/2 inch faucet connection up here. As far as tools, we're just going to use like a, I don't know what the style of wrench is called, to really get up there under the sink behind the basin and grab onto that connection there. It's really hard otherwise without something like this that gives you a bit of a strange articulation as far as the wrench goes. And then down here, for this part of the hose, we're going to be using 2 wrenches, one to hold the valve body, one to actually work the nut on the hose. You want to always make sure you secure the valve body as you're trying to torque one of the connections down, so you're not kind of working against yourself or damaging the valve. And then these are just some cutting utensils that we may need to pull off some of the snap rings on the Accor valve. Alright, so I went ahead and I turned the water off. Now the first thing we want to do is go ahead and disconnect the hose from the faucet up there on top of the sink. I did look this up. It's called a basin wrench. Makes sense. So just kind of show you guys what I meant by working your way back here. It would be really hard to get anything to really wrench on that, other than something like that. Alright, just came off just like that. Alright, and then the Accor valves, they are supposed to be somewhat straightforward, and pull one off, you're supposed to just take it and spin counterclockwise from the base. You know what, I'm gonna cut that hose off. Give me some. It's not the right tool for the job, but it'll work. Okay. Make it a little easier to pull this off. You're supposed to just turn it counterclockwise and off it comes. Alright, so it looks like the builders left a good amount of pipe left behind there. Not a very square cut here, but here's this ring that we're going to have to take off. We could try and drag it all the way forward, but that might just really be difficult, so we're just going to cut it with our diagonal cutters that we talked about earlier. Kind of work our way in there. Maybe those tin snips will come in handy again. Tin snips for the hose, tin snips for, yep, there it goes. Yeah, this is really jagged. I don't know. I'm surprised it hasn't leaked sooner. And I don't feel really comfortable pulling that pipe so far forward. I think, you know, it looks like behind there it's got a little bit of room, but not much. So this is what I meant. If I were to trim off, you know, any sort of this pipe that was part of the Accor valve assembly before, I wouldn't have much to grab on with that other push to connect. So we're gonna just clean this up a little bit, dry it off, and go ahead and proceed with our solvent weld of the other valve. Alright, just getting set up for the solvent weld. So again, we're going to use the valve that can just get the glue applied. So there's two parts to the gluing process. There's a primer, and some people say you can skip it. I think it's important, just especially for old work where the valve is going onto some pipe that maybe has been weathered or has been you know, scored. I think the primer really helps soften up the plastic and prepare it for the weld. And then the actual glue is this yellow stuff, and then I think local codes may require that you actually have the blue and the purple and the yellow stain as evidence that, you know, the weld was completed with all the steps. So we're gonna go ahead and just kind of give you a closer look of that pipe, and you can kind of see the scoring. You can kind of see the burrs. You can see it's not cut really cleanly from the builder. It's ugly. So, you know, if we had tried to put one of those push to connect fittings on there, on that piece of pipe, just like that, we probably would have gotten a leak, since that's just like a rubber seal that tries and seals against that outer surface. And then if we try and cut this back, you know, we risk in not having enough pipe. So the solvent weld is just really the way to go here. So we're going to go ahead and start that, and it should be really quick. Couple hints about the solvent weld. You want to make sure you read the label carefully, make sure the temperature is within range of what the glue needs to be. Also, you want to really make sure that you work with it while it is still liquid, and you want to make sure you give it time to set up. And then curing is important. It's a 6-hour cure time for this particular glue, so it's 6 hours before I can turn the water back on. Just gonna wipe the pipe off a little more. That purple stuff we're going to put on here really is a cleaner. It's an aggressive cleaner. I have cardboard down on the work area because that purple stuff and the yellow stuff really stain. They'll stain clothes, they'll stain floor, so just be careful with it. Also, the pipe wrenches that we have handy here, they're also useful for opening these lids on the materials. You want to go ahead and use the primer generously, you know, in so much that you don't get it on anything that's kind of important. Then we're just going to go ahead and prime both the pipe and then prime both the valve. And there's no real holding time here. I mean, you can go from primer to glue right away. The primer really just helps kind of soften the plastic, clean the plastic. So this is a brand new can of glue. It won't open, so we're just gonna grab our pipe wrench here. And the pipe wrench really helps out. You're not hurting yourself. So it's a brand new can of glue. You want it to be liquidy. You don't want it to be, and I think you want to apply it generously to your pipe, so you can be messy with it there. Where you really want to use it sparingly is inside the valve. Pooling of the glue is generally not a good thing. You want to make sure you have coverage all around, but look out that you don't have large pooling surfaces, since those won't cure very cleanly. And then while everything's still kind of nice and wet, you want to put it on there, give it a nice little rotation back and forth, and it sets quick. So you want to hold it down for maybe a minute or so. And then after you hold it down for a minute or so, you kind of want to let it set for about 5 minutes before wrenching on it to do the hookup. Also, watch, these glues are really volatile as far as the smell, and they're also kind of flammable. So be careful where you're working in enclosed spaces. Make sure you give yourself some ventilation. Okay, it's been about 5 minutes. Our solvent weld seems to have set pretty well. So we're going to go ahead and close this valve off and put the braided hose on. So the valve comes with a flaring and a nut. You don't need those with the hose. That's if you try and make your own, which we won't be doing. So we'll connect the top part first. This is the 1/2-inch FIP connection to the sink. It has an O-ring type seal here. You want to go finger tight, and then maybe half turn or 3/4 turn tighter, then finger tight. The one I pulled off was definitely not on there. Too tight, so we're using our basin wrench again. Give us a hand, and you can flip it based on which way you need it to close. Apply torque. It's just right there. I call that good. So anytime you have a threaded connection, you want to go ahead and start it off by hand before really wrenching on it with more force. So we're gonna get our 2 wrenches here. Now this hose is a little long for the application, and I could have had this actually facing down like the original builder did, and then had a loop, and that would have helped alleviate some of the strain here, but really it's not a problem. Or I may replace this with a shorter hose later, but just little things that you can always do to make the job cleaner. You want to take time at the beginning to walk through the steps, and sometimes we may not catch everything, but that's okay. Again, here you don't need it to be super tight, but definitely snug. You have rubber seals that you're compressing to hold off the water, and with temperature changes and things like that, you want to make sure that the seals have enough compression that you know, they won't move and leak. All right, so that's it. That's the job, and hopefully that solves the problem. I'll find out in 6 hours. Hey guys, so I went ahead and did the cold water side too, the right valve over here. Figured if one of the valves went bad, the other one wasn't too far behind. Like I said, that was my 3rd one, so I'm gonna probably end up replacing these slowly, maybe before they start leaking or as they start leaking. One thing I noticed was these hoses swivel on their fittings, so I created a nice loop here to help get rid of that strain I was worried about on these fittings. So you can just kind of grab your hose and give it a nice little twist, and get yourself some Dumbo ears. With that, looks nice. Check it out. And warning for leaks, but I'm confident it'll hold up. All right. Hope you found that helpful. Leave me comments, questions below. Thanks so much. Bye.